From WBZ News Radio in Boston, this is New England Weekend. Each and every week right here, we come together, we talk about all the topics important to you and the place where you live. It's great to have you back with us this week. I'm Nichole Davis. This time around, we're highlighting the work of a nonprofit that is dedicated to helping people find a life-saving device. If you think about it, cardiac incidents like heart attacks, well, they really don't have much warning, if any. You might suddenly find yourself out and about and in a situation where somebody is on the ground right in front of you fighting for their life. Now, we know in that moment it's all about buying yourself more time. CPR is important, but a device called an AED, an automated external defibrillator, can do the best job at restarting that person's heart before serious brain damage sets in or even death. Think about it, though. Do you know where the AED is in your office or your apartment building? How about when you're out in the subway or maybe you're just at your favorite store? I can't say I do all the time, and it might seem like an afterthought to you as well, but there's a nonprofit out there called Cardiac Crusade that wants to change that and make it easy for you to know. Their mission is simple. Help 911 dispatchers and everyday folks like you and I know exactly where the AEDs are in as many places as possible. So to do this, they've launched a brand new mapping campaign where around the country, volunteers are spreading out to find them one by one. So that campaign is coming here to Massachusetts, and we can talk about it now. Greg Coon is the founder of Cardiac Crusade. They are based in Texas. Now, here in Massachusetts, Tyler Mola is Cardiac Crusade's head of operations as they get things started here. Gentlemen, thank you both for your time. Greg, this is certainly a very ambitious idea. Before we kind of get into the nitty-gritty of all this, I'd love to know a bit of background about Cardiac Crusade, where you came up with this idea and how it's all kind of come together up until now.
So, my wife Julie had a sudden cardiac arrest in 2018. She's part of the 10% Survival Club. And the big aha moment was I didn't know the difference between a cardiac arrest and a heart attack. And those are very, very different. A heart attack is plumbing. And so you have an artery, it gets, more and more clogged. As your heart tries to push blood through your body and it's more clogged, your heart is working harder and harder. So you have the traditional signs of shortness of breath, no energy, numbness, tingly on the left side, usually, chest pain, all those signs that we hear. That's the heart attack happening. So you can have signs for, minutes, hours, days, weeks, longer. If you go to the hospital, you can it's quite survivable, but it's when typically guys are like, I'll be fine. No, then it gets to a point where it's too late. So as long as you pay attention to the signs, a heart attack is quite survivable, as long as you do those things. A cardiac arrest is electrical. It's like throwing water on a battery. So Julie, my wife, had the cardiac arrest. She had zero blockage, healthy. She had no problems. And so, but what she did have at what they think caused it, and if you've got 100 cardiac arrest patients, you've got 100 different reasons why that person went into cardiac arrest. Her heart was a little enlarged. She had a virus, and she also had no potassium in her blood, in her system. If she would have, which is electrolytes. So if she would have eaten a banana that morning, maybe, who knows? She may not have had a cardiac arrest. So, so now her heart's trying to push blood through her now a little bit enlarged heart, and it's trying to do it, but it doesn't know how to because the electrical system's kind of messed up, and her heart just went from bump 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 to it's in VFib is what it's called, right. But basically it's kind of shaking with his audio. So the best I can do is describe.
If you're listening, he's shaking his hands around a little bit, so you get the idea. Yeah.
But this is not pumping blood through the body.
It just goes wonky.
So, yeah, exactly. And so you literally. From one second to the next, she was at her local high school talking to a friend of hers after doing a charity event at the high school, and they're just chit-chatting. And from one second to the next, she collapses. And she's not breathing. Her heart's not beating. So when someone goes into cardiac arrest, you first call 911. Number two, you start CPR. And number three, you get the AED. Now, CPR is essential because what it's doing is it's using the compressions that you're doing on the chest to help buy minutes. You're extending the time that blood is continuing to go through the body.
Hmm.
Um, the shock from an AED is the only thing that will restart the heart. You have to have the shock in order to restart the heart. So what happens is now you're doing, you can, I don't know what has been called. You've got CPR going, which is great.
Hmm.
The big question is, okay, where is that AED? Now I understand why you need to know where the AED is. So there's the chain of survival, 911, CPR, AED.
Right.
But there's a huge gap in there. Julie just happened to have her cardiac arrest right in the perfect place at the right time with the right people, the right equipment. They knew that the AED was in the gym, 50 feet away.
Hmm.
Um, but what if you're in a place that you don't know that there's a AED in that gym 50 feet away?
Mm.
There are countless stories of people that die
Mm.
because there was an AED 50 feet away that they didn't know about.
Oh,
So there is a huge gap that we're trying to fill, and that's the purpose of what we're doing. So now I understand the difference between a cardiac arrest and a heart attack because a cardiac arrest, your brain starts to die in 3 minutes.
mm.
You've got to take immediate action. You've got to jump on it. And
Mm.
bystanders, it takes an ambulance 4, 8, 12 minutes, whatever it is,
Sure.
uh, to get there. They may be on another call and the person doesn't make it. I mean, that's not survivable after you get past 10 minutes, past that. Now I understand how this all works. I'm at my desk after she is out of the hospital. And I look at my phone and I'm thinking, why is it that I can say, hey, Google, hey, Siri, where's the closest Starbucks? But I can't do that with an AED.
Good question.
That's the crazy little silly idea that I came up and, now we're here and to
Mm.
this point.
Mm.
So I created a change.org page. I posted on Facebook, tagged people and it just kind of had a life of its own where people would like sign this. So of course, Google and Apple Maps should have AEDs natively on their maps.
Mm.
And then we got some media coverage, and it was just kind of the snowball effect. Someone who knew someone at Google Maps said, "Hey, let's talk."
Okay.
So we have had conversations. I can't go into any more details because but we have had conversations with both Apple Maps and I'm sorry, Google Maps and Apple Maps to see what we can do. But this is not just, hey, there's a wheelchair ramp at this restaurant and add it to their maps. This involves life and death. So
Mm.
we've had to jump through a lot of hoops.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
get there.
You have this great idea, obviously, and you clearly are getting support, not just from the public, but also from these companies. So, what can you do right now to start the process?
There is PulsePoint is our database partner, and they are really the only good authority in AED mapping,
Okay.
mainly because you verify that they're there. There are a lot of lists out there and websites that have a list, but
Mm.
this is the one that actually has volunteers go out and map them and also confirm that they're there.
Hmm.
Um, this database is available to 911 systems in cities, towns, counties, villages, states have access to this database. So their 911 operators can say, hey, you're calling, there's a sudden cardiac arrest victim at this location.
Right.
You start CPR, tell someone else to go across the street to the restaurant X and go get the AED, bring it back.
Hmm.
And if that takes 45 seconds and the ambulance takes 7 minutes, that's someone is living compared to not living. So
Sure. Yeah.
that database is now available to 911 systems. So that all being said, I can't do it all by myself. We've got to have volunteers, and we have
Right.
an army of volunteers. So last year we had a campaign in Buffalo, New York, and Western New York to register as many AEDs as we can. We had a
Hmm.
goal of 1,000 AEDs. We ended up mapping over 1,200 AEDs.
Nice. Okay.
So we are now in Boston and in Massachusetts, I'm sorry, in Massachusetts, and with a goal of mapping over 1,500 AEDs. So
Okay.
let me do a statistic for you in Massachusetts. So the survival rate for sudden cardiac arrest is 10%.
Hmm.
90% of those that have a cardiac arrest die. In San Diego, where 2,600 plus AEDs are mapped, their survival rate is between 50 and 70%. Depends on where you are in the city, of course. There's a lot of
Sure.
variables in there, but generally and you compare that to the national survival rate of 10%, that's a huge, huge difference.
Yeah.
There are a couple cities in eastern Massachusetts that have a survival rate of 3%,
Three,
which is
not
three,
30, not
not 30.
53. Three.
It's 0.3%. Yes,
Oh my.
3%. And this is Massachusetts. This is
Right.
Boston. This is medical of not just of the United
Everywhere.
States, but everywhere of the world.
Yeah.
And I saw that study that came out, and frankly, I was like, that's crazy.
Mm.
And so we are on a mission to increase the survival rates
Mm.
of from sudden cardiac arrest in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
And that is where Tyler comes in. So,
Ding
Tyler,
ding.
tell me a little bit about why this matters to you and why you wanted to get involved in this in the first place.
Yeah, of course. So I guess we'll flash back to August 2023. My grandmother died of a suspected cardiac arrest.
Mm.
And so obviously heartbreaking and devastating. And I'm going to fast forward now to December 2024. My aunt has a cardiac arrest but survives.
Mm.
Difference there, AED was brought on scene. I will say my aunt, it wasn't brought on scene in the most timely manner, but it was there and she received shocks and now is alive because of them.
Wow.
And so my cousin Danielle, who kind of started, it kind of, I would say wrote me in isn't the right term. It sounds has a bad connotation, but she was the one that brought me along and introduced me to Greg back in late January, early February.
Mm.
And so I joined Cardiac Crusade as a result of those two events, mainly with my aunt surviving and my cousin Danielle introducing me to the organization. But those two events were really what sparked my interest and my dedication towards improving survival rates for cardiac arrest.
So, how are you then working to get this done in Massachusetts? I mean, the statistic that Greg just gave, I'm still reeling over that. And like he was mentioning, we have so many incredible medical facilities here in Massachusetts. What's the plan here to get this done?
Right. It is an egregiously low number, and
Yeah.
I agree standards should be higher, especially here in Massachusetts. And I would say, where do I start with what we have planned right now? We have had a lot of ongoing conversations, and we've done a lot in a short period of time, which I think it just, my optimism moving forward and how fast we're already moving is just, it's through the moon. And so I'm really
Mm.
excited for what we have planned. So I guess I'll start from where really we're building out our team. And I don't know if Greg has mentioned already, but we're calling our team here the Boston Shock Squad.
Oh.
And so I think it's a great name and kind of it encompasses our mission really.
Mm.
And so I work at the UMass Chan Medical School as a research coordinator. I've done preclinical research for years and now I'm doing clinical. And I have friends that are med students here and actually an old college roommate of mine. So I approached him and I was like, hey, like, are you interested in doing this with us? And I wanted to bring him along on the team. He's a good friend of mine, dedicated kid, and he's a med student, so his interests align.
Mm.
And so they actually started a Cardiac Crusade club here at the medical school. So we're a partnered organization with them. And so our plan is to have med students get recruited to be a part of this club and go out and map here in Worcester in the central Massachusetts area.
Mm.
And then actually yesterday, me and my friend Jack, the med student, we were at Northeastern
Yeah.
and we were in a nonprofit volunteer engagement fair. And I was telling them yesterday in our group chat, I don't think there was 1 minute over the course of that 4 hour event that we weren't talking, engaging with students. And so,
Wonderful.
yeah, it's a wonderful mission and it's really a no-brainer. Greg and I always say it all the time that it's a no-brainer to want to do this and get involved. And we had a lot of pre-med, pre-health students that, understood our mission and understood the importance. And Greg, I didn't share this with you just yet. I wanted Jack to share it with you, but I will share it with you today, Nichole, is that we had a student come up. His father suffered cardiac arrest and survived one. And so we have that happen all the time where we hear these stories and it's like that is the point of our mission. We want to increase that likelihood that someone else's dad has it tomorrow. And so
Mm.
we're really just recruiting students and we have events coming up. We've been working with the American Heart Association and they've been super supportive here in Massachusetts where we're trying to find ways to collaborate. They're including us in events that really, really help us with our awareness and, increasing our, visibility of what we're trying to do to the community in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And so
Sure.
we have a lot of things in, ongoing conversation, a lot of things planned. And I think in the next couple months, you'll really hear more about us and what we're trying to do, especially with more volunteers being involved. And hopefully there's an exponential increase in the amount of AEDs we map and that are on Pulse Point.
So is this only for med students, or can anybody help volunteer?
No, this is a community mission, and I think we've targeted students because there is I guess, an incentive for them to join. There is
Sure.
selfish reasons, right? They could add this to their resume, but it also it works in tandem. This is a great cause, a great mission, and it is truly going to save lives. But, we have events, like I said, we're going out in the community. We want to recruit as many people as possible that, one, understand our mission, but two, may have been affected some way or another. So this is not just for med students, just for students at all. Like in general, it is for everyone to get involved. We want as many people in the Commonwealth to be involved as possible.
So we'll talk about the event you have coming up here in just a couple minutes. Greg, though, I'd love to know more about the training process. If somebody wants to be a volunteer and wants to help map, what do they have to do, and how? I'm assuming they're not just barging into office buildings and saying, hey, where's your AED? I'm sure it's a little more complex than that.
Yes, there's an online training. It takes 20 minutes to go through the training. It's free. We have a website just for for the Massachusetts initiative. It's cardiaccrusade.org/Boston.
Yep.
So go to the website. You can find out about the upcoming event that we've got that we'll talk about. But we also have a link to the training, and just click the link. Go do the training online for about 20 minutes, send us the information that's requested at the end, and you now have the ability to map and verify AEDs, which is amazing that once you verify an AED and that it's there and you hit submit, that submit button there's something so wonderful about hitting that submit button, because what you can do is as soon as you hit submit, that AED is now available to your local 911 system. That it is there, where it wasn't before. So the 911 operators, as long as they're connected into the Pulse Point database, and many are, many aren't. Many are thinking about it. Many, it's like, again, like Tyler said, it's a no-brainer for these municipalities it's free for them to connect into it. And so as soon as you hit submit, that 911 operator will know that there's an AED at that location and can direct people to go get that AED in case of a sudden cardiac arrest.
So timing-wise, how long do you think it's going to be, or do you not know yet? It's okay if you don't. When people are going to be able to open up, Google or Apple or whatever, and be able to have this right in front of them? Or is that still a little further out at this point?
That's our dream. Whenever I describe that we're going to do this, I use the word soon, coming soon, because it's ambiguous. It's also positive that, that's going to happen soon. And so
speak it into existence, they say.
You know what? If I keep saying soon, it's going to happen soon, right?
Sure.
Our contact at Google Maps said we were having a call, I don't know, a bit ago, and he noticed a little frustration that it wasn't happening, because I want it to just, of course, push the button, click OK or whatever.
Right.
Exactly. And he said, Greg, I understand I can feel you're a little frustrated. And I'm like, I'm at their whim. They can say, Greg, go away. We never want to talk to you again.
Sure.
But they're not doing that. I'm the thorn in their side that keeps doing this thing. And he goes, it'll happen. It might take a month. It might take a year. It might be 10 years, but it will happen, where you can say, hey, Google, hey, Siri, where's the closest AED? And it pops up.
Right.
And it can't be for public purposes, for our mission. It can't be on a website. It can't be a list somewhere. If someone has a cardiac arrest and is laying there lifeless next to you, you need to be doing CPR.
Right. You're not sitting there scrolling your phone like, oh, hold on, I thought I had the app in there somewhere, And
passwords and, no, that's why it has to be native, where you say, hey, Google, hey, Siri, and it pops up.
Okay. But you know what? I mean, the Pulse Point stuff, that is helping first responders right away. And that in itself is something to be celebrated. And clearly,
the other part of what we're doing, so, we're populating the map with AED locations so that 911 operators can have it. Now, remember, Pulse Point is our database partner. So they would API the database to these 911 systems throughout the country. Same thing with Google and Apple Maps. When we add these AEDs, we're not adding them to Google and Apple Maps servers. they're APIing the data from PulsePoint, our
Right,
data
right. They're
partner.
plugging
So
in.
the
Yeah.
source for all AED locations is PulsePoint,
Yeah.
whether goes to 911 systems or ultimately to your smartphones.
Right. Anything that eventually could API into this. You are doing the work by the Community Volunteer Program, getting out there and making this database that will save lives at the end of the day. You're doing the
On
grunt
that
work
note,
now, as they say.
we're doing a lot of the grunt work, and it's amazing. So
Mm.
so we're in the Dallas area. After Julie had her cardiac arrest in our local town, we went to coffee with the medical director for our city for Plano.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, because now we know about PulsePoint, we know about AEDs and the importance of knowing where they are, and they're signed up for their 911 systems to connect to that database. And I said, how many of the AEDs that are out there does PulsePoint have in their database in our city? And you don't know what you don't know. And he guessed maybe 10%.
Oh.
I'm like, so 90% of the AEDs that are out there and available, you don't know where they are. They're not going to help save anyone if you don't know where they are.
No,
So
not in the least.
that was another big statistic. Okay, you ready for another big statistic?
Sure, lay it on me.
Bring it. The national survival rate, like I said, is 10%.
Yes.
Do you want to take a guess on what is the survival rate if you get a shock within 2 minutes?
Probably 75.
Wow. Most people go like 40, 50%, 80%.
I did take a Red Cross CPR class recently, so that's
Well, there
probably
you go.
what
Okay.
it is. I'm kind of cheating, but yeah, no, I know it is incredibly beneficial. It is truly beneficial, and those
Totally.
AEDs, they're not that big either. They've started to make them so small.
Yeah.
I mean, every business, if you ask me, should have one of these. Every classroom. I mean, they're expensive, yes, but they can do wonderful things, and they're pretty easy to operate too. If I can learn how to do it in a Red Cross class, and I am not a medically inclined person, I mean, there's no reason not to have one, right?
And you can't, and part of it is that it won't shock unless you're in a shockable rhythm, unless your heart's doing
The
the
wonky
shaky
thing,
thing,
yeah,
the wonky thing. It's not gonna, if your heart is going ba-bump, ba-bump, it's beating normally, it's not going to shock you.
hmm
It will only do it when it can bring someone into a shock that's in a shockable rhythm
mm
into a normal heartbeat.
Okay.
So there are some trainers I've seen, they will put an AED pads on them during
hmm
training because they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. And they'll say, hit the shock button, and it won't shock them.
Oof.
So that is proving that, it will only shock if they can help. You cannot hurt someone. I'm going to do a little side story here. I actually did CPR on a hockey player at a local rink,
Mm.
and he collapsed. He had a cardiac arrest. I started doing CPR, and when I was doing CPR on him, I could feel and hear his ribs break.
Mm.
And people are afraid, oh, I don't want to break his ribs. And it's like,
You need
break
to.
away.
You need to.
He's dead if you don't do it. So
hmm
I knew I was doing compressions the right way
Right.
and deep enough. And he lived.
That's the most important thing. All right,
Yep.
so let's talk about what's happening here in Massachusetts. Tyler, we've got the Army of Volunteers that you're obviously working very hard to grow, but you've also got this event coming up here on October 16th. Tell me a little bit about the event, what it's all about, how people can get involved, so on and so forth.
Yeah, of course. So, like you said, it's October 16th, which is actually a really special day. So, it's National Restart a Heart Day. And that's actually the official day that we're kickstarting our campaign here in Massachusetts. That said, it doesn't mean you can't get involved now and start mapping AEDs, but that's when our official campaign is going to start on National Restart a Heart Day on October 16th. And so, this event really, we're going to have a fun time. It's going to be at a restaurant called Loco in South Boston.
hmm
We invite everyone to join. If you go to our website, as Greg kind of already mentioned, there's a link to register, and it's all over social media. If you go on the Cardiac Crusade MA Instagram, and you can go to my social as well, Tyler.Mola on Instagram, the link's there as well. But yeah, this event really is just to introduce Cardiac Crusade into the Massachusetts community. We want to invite everyone that's prospective volunteers and anyone else that just wants to learn more about what we're all about. We're going to have Greg's going to come in for this. Like you said, he's in the Dallas area. I'm local, so it's a drive up for me.
Yeah.
But we're going to have Julie, his wife's going to be there. Another one of our members of the Boston Shock Squad, she's a cardiac arrest survivor as well. So they're both going to speak about their stories and why this is important to them and why this truly matters and can actually save a lot of lives in our community here in Massachusetts. But like I said, yeah, it's going to be fun. We're going to have a raffle for people to kind of can win fun prizes. We've had, and this is one thing too that I've been utterly shocked about is the support that we received from the community, local services. I mean, we have 50 plus donations that we've received for this event. So we have a mix of a raffle that we're going to do for local services as well as an auction for maybe more higher ticket items. We have a lot of sports memorabilia that have been donated. So it'll be an event that, again, we just want to welcome people to join us and learn more about us, but also have a good time. It's going to be, like I said, at Loco, it's a really great atmosphere. We're going to make the theme more heartfelt. Pun is intended there.
Wow.
So yeah, everyone, the website, like I said, has a link to register. So we invite everyone to join us.
And this is the Boston Shock Squad. But again, you're based out in central Mass, and plenty of other people are not that far of a drive from Boston. So we're talking like New Hampshire, Providence. They're all welcome too, I'm assuming, correct?
Oh, of course. Yeah. We want this in This is a Massachusetts campaign, but the goal is to expand from city to city. And I don't want to, I'm not trying to speak for Greg here, but yeah, we want to expand and be a national organization. And then, like you said, he did a Buffalo campaign. Now we're in Massachusetts. And the goal is to keep bouncing around.
Yeah, sure. I mean, getting those AEDs on the South Shore, or maybe a Metro West or Cape Ann, whatever. As long as they're around the greater Boston area or even in central Mass. If you're in New Hampshire, you're listening. If you're in Rhode Island, you're listening. October 16th, this is going to be in South Boston over at Loco? Over at Loco in South Boston. And again, you are collecting donations here. So what do you need when it comes to donations? Do you want just the volunteers? Do you need the money? Do you need both? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, and yes. We need all we need all of the above.
Yeah.
So donations are going to help a lot. Things for our volunteers. One of the things we learned in Buffalo, for example, is we had a lot of volunteers and we had great success in Buffalo. But people would just come in wearing their street clothes and knock on the door. Hey, do you have an AED? And they're like, who are you? And
Why
so what
would
we want
you?
to do is,
Yeah. I get
exactly.
that.
What are you doing? And what's your name? And so we want to get shirts for all of our volunteers that say Cardiac Crusade volunteer. So that would be a huge help. And also just funding what we're doing. And we need to get social media out there. We need, it would just get word out is going to be the biggest thing that we can do. Other than the donations, having volunteers. So, everything is pretty much listed on the cardiaccrusade.org/Boston
Fabulous.
Website. It's all there, including free tickets and free admission to our event, which gives you a look at see what's for auction. You can bid on the auction whether you're there in person or remotely. You can be anywhere and bid on some of these auction items. And just kind of keeping in touch with what we're doing.
All right, phenomenal.
And I want to reiterate and emphasize, this is a volunteer-driven initiative, and so the biggest help that you can have for us is to become a volunteer in MAP AEDs. The donations are great, don't get me wrong, we're going to use them wisely to support our volunteers, but this is volunteer-driven, and so if you want to support us in the best way possible, become a volunteer and help us map AEDs around Massachusetts.
Say if there's somebody who works at a corporation that might be local or a business that might want to help you out. Are you looking for connections in that way too?
I have a friend of mine, his girlfriend, they do a lot of this kind of work where the company is interested in doing some sort of community engagement, volunteer-driven initiative, and so we're trying to, at least I'm trying to on my end, organize stuff like that where we can get companies and organizations involved to do maybe a mapping day. We're still working on what type of basis, but weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever that kind of regular schedule is, but we want to have it on a regular schedule so that they can cover, if it's one neighborhood today and then the next time it's another or a certain radius or groups go out, those, we're still fine tuning all of that, but that's kind of like you said, like you alluded to, that's kind of what we want to do is do mapping days so that we can cover area with large amounts of people to make it most efficient.
Okay. Well, cardiaccrusade.org/Boston. Again, cardiaccrusade.org/Boston. Tyler, Greg, what an incredible initiative you've got going on here. Obviously, it came out of tragedy, but you're saving a lot of lives. So thank you both for your time and your efforts and your energy. And I wish you all the best as you start rolling this out here in Massachusetts.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a safe and healthy weekend. Please join me again next week for another edition of the show. I'm Nichole Davis from WBZ News Radio on iHeartRadio.